Here we go into the finals of SCS 211. First off for the victor, Strom. We have the Lumberjack, Watcha, Gatling, and Artemis with Red Judgment. Their ally is the Zetnus' Sandwich, Watch Goldfish, left side Light Carronade, right side Gatling. For their opponents, the Zealous Armada of Rhinos, we have the Usul's Big One, dual Nemesis Carronade paired with Hades and Artemis. And finally, the See Out Endel, Blue Shrike, dual Carronades on the left side, Gatling, and Watcha on the right. As we take this first game of potentially two games of our final set, the Pomelos came out of the round-robin phase with the best score, so they start this best-of-3 set with a one-game advantage, meaning that the Pomelos only have to win one game to take the tournament, where the Zealous Armada of Rhinos will have to win two. I believe we are going into a pause being requested by the Pomelos, as we... Now, I was wondering for a moment, neither of the teams moving from their spawn position. Actually, the pilot of Victor Strom asking if they can make an ammunition change. So, Derelict Deception, I believe, still the newest map in our competitive pool. And a little bit interesting just because of it has some unique properties. It's a very long, straightforward map, which you would think would be good for sniping lanes, but the map is actually split vertically into two halves, with this northern half being filled with clouds, as well as the rocky terraces in the center, make it very difficult to actually maintain long-range consistent sniper fire. And this north side of the map is where we see teams usually approach from. It's a little more protected. The south half of the map runs through this rusted out ship, and you can see this is much more open, and which makes it a lot more difficult to attack from this side of the map. And then you have a few of these windows that you can actually cut through. I think not that. I don't think you can get through this one. But this one? I forget. Some number of these windows are non-colliding. You can actually go through. Split the difference. And I think teams are actually arguing over whether or not they can switch the Pomelos gunner can switch their ammo. So, and it seems like the answer is no. So... Oh. Guns of Icarus. I can't, I'm looking forward to that new patch that's coming out, honestly. Maybe we'll see. Well, probably won't. The Stormbreaker being changed in a way that it's probably not going to be that good. We'll see. But Stormbreaker nerfs, Watcha nerfs. Galleon and Junker are both receiving some mobility buffs, as well as I think Galleon's receiving slightly more armor. So good. I think next patch going to be pretty good. Also, a game mode is being added that's probably not going to be very good, but I mean, would it really be a Guns of Icarus patch without a bad game mode being added to the game that people will play for for 1 week and never touch again? As I think the pause has been called off. Blue team, See Out Endel charging forward. They're taking that north pass. As Usul's Big One losing their balloon, using that drogue shoot, try to stay in the air. See Out Endel. I think they. I'm kind of curious. We do see Zealous Armada backing out a little bit. I wonder if they're rethinking this approach, and are considering attempting going through the rusted ship. This Lumberjack. The dual Nemesis, dual Nemesis. Hades. One thing about the Judgment is Judgment has so many relevant guns that I always forget. Any amount of downtime in the knowledge of which guns are on which ship is just immediately, it leaps in my brain. But I feel like firepower-wise, the two judgments are pretty even. The big one has a little bit more piercing because they have the dual nemesis as well as Hades. Victor Stromstrom opting to bring a Gatling, a little more split between long range and close range. But the Victor Stromstrom does have that Lumberjack, which has a much stronger immediate effect than the Nemesis does. Presuming you don't have perfect Nemesis. If you can get those perfect Nemesis shots and actually keep the Lumberjack disabled, then that's something, but balloons are a much larger target, so it's at these long distances, it's a lot easier to get consistent Lumberjack hits than it is to snipe out guns with the Nemesis. As see out Endel pushing on forward. They've got the rear of the Stromstrom, but Sandwich is ready to pursue. Stromstrom's armor is down. Big One looks like switching focus to the Sandwich, trying to help out their ally Shrike. They're probably going to lose their balloon to the next Lumberjack hit. Yeah, Big One's balloon goes down. See out Endel losing 2 engines to the Zetnus' Sandwich, but they still have the rear of the Judgment. And we have kind of a dual focus, but the Big One, a lot of those shots are missing from the Blue Judgment. Now switching focus to the Zetnus' Sandwich. Stromstrom hitting the See Out Endel with a big Watcher connection, taking down all the guns, the armor. 2 engines are down. See Out Endel, this could be the end of the Blue Shrike. Without those engines, they're not going to be able to dodge, but the Sandwich low as well, and Usul's Big One is moving in from behind. We could see a trade, yes. So the score is evened up between the Zealous Armada and the Pomelos. However, See Out Endel gonna have to book it because this fight is taking place on red side of the map. And See Out Endel did die first and is a little bit faster than the Goldfish, so there's a possibility that the Blue Shrike will be able to rejoin their ally before there is a true 2v1 in the favor of the Pomelos. However, it's also certainly possible that the Victor Stromstrom could just win this 1v1 without their ally. Sandwich has spawned back in. See Out Endel spawned in as well. Victor Stromstrom trying to maintain those armed Lumberjack shots, so they've been reversing. Gatling now hitting the Big One. Armor down, Zetnus Sandwich following up with a Hwacha. I think the window for See Out Endel to save their ally probably a little bit too tight. They may be a little bit optimistic to think that the Shrike would have been able to save their ally there. Rick losing their armor there to something. I think maybe taking a little bit of a bump from one of these little terrain pieces. They're hanging forward. I'll be curious to see what they decide to do because the frontal charge did not work. And again, I feel like any sort of prolonged long-range or medium-range engagement is just not going to work for Blue Team either, because they don't have access to a Lumberjack. So once the balloons start going down, it takes a lot longer to regain lost altitude than it does to rebuild guns. So the Lumberjack, definitely one of the strongest weapons in a longer engagement, which means that Zealous Armada is going to have to find a way to close this distance between Red Team, but maybe they won't need to, as the Pomelos seem to be slowly pushing forward to center map, playing a little bit more aggressively than they probably have to. As you see Usul's Big One taking a few pot shots through the gap here between the two terrain pieces. Zetnus' Sandwich has had enough of this, so he's moving forward. Nemesis takes out one of the light carronades. Also taking down the balloon. Goldfish has to back out, I think, taking a little bit surprised at how much damage they were taking. See Out Endel I think Seodendo waffling a little bit, but it seems like target maybe they want to go for the goldfish. Unsure. Now changing focus to the Victor Strom. Coming in underneath, probably going to pop that. Let's double check here. Probably going to pop that hydrogen, jump up, hit them with the Hwacha. Yes. Good connection, taking down the Lumberjack, Gatling Artemis. Only the... nope, Hwacha's down as well. So Victor Strom, all guns down. Sandwich moving up to defend their ally. Not a great Hwacha connection. Able to take down the 2 light weapons of the Shrike. And here's Usul's big one. Hades moving in. Nemesis, pretty good against a weakened target just because it's fairly easy to hit with. It's difficult to dodge those Nemesis shots, and they do a lot of... They do good all-around damage, so if you have a lot of components that are low at health, the Nemesis suddenly becomes a much bigger problem than if you have a full health ship. So there they go. See out Endel taking a huge Hwacha connection and then bumping into the goldfish. Sandwich's balloon is down. See out Endel's balloon just barely staying up, but they lose armor. They've lost all the engines. Sandwich ducking down, unable to follow up on the Sea out Endel because they've lost their balloon, and that's going to be it. Nemesis shot finishing them off, tying up the score for the Zealous Armada. And once again, this fight taking place in Red Spawn, but this time 2 ships versus 1, and I certainly hope they're able to get this kill. Yeah, I think this is... They're probably going to be able to pick up this one. Carronade going to make it so there's no recovery here for the Victor Strom. And down they go. 3-2 advantage for the Zealous Armada of Rhinos. Maybe learning a little bit from their game earlier against... or on Canyon Ambush, where they had a lot of... It was a game I would describe as being close, but the Zealous Armada just had a lot of difficulty picking off kills in situations that were advantageous to them, which is not where you want to drop the ball. As we see Victor Strom, Zetnus Sandwich spawning in, taking a protected spawn in the crashed ship. Not a spawn you see that often, but because Zealous Armada is so heavily entrenched in the Pomelos spawn, this makes sense. So Victor Strom poking out of the window. They can reverse if the Seodendel comes to fight them. Okay, well now they actually can't reverse. Now they've risen up a little bit too much. So they're committed to this movement. Zetnus is Sandwich moving forward. They're gonna have to get out of here without bumping into the Strom. This is gonna be a little bit difficult. Strom backing out, losing their balloon. Watch a connection from the hitting the Seodendel. Taking down the carronades. They have 10 minutes left on the clock. Seodendel moving forward. They want to get those spots back. And then reversing away. And this is also good positioning from Red. Another quality of the Lumberjack is Lumberjack has an impact on the fight much more quickly than a Nemesis does. It does the balloon damage specifically from Lumberjack is much higher than from a Nemesis. So Victor Strom can poke out, take a few Lumberjack shots. If they take out a balloon, then Red Team can commit to the fight. If they don't take out the balloon, they can just back out, wait, try again. So this... Any sort of this kind of like a peek, take a few shots type of strategy works very well with the Lumberjack. Better than it does with the Nemesis. So I think Blue Team at one point probably going to want to commit here and try to hit Red Team's position. I feel like if they could probably drop down through the window, and that would be pretty good for the Zealous Armada. But also, I would be surprised if anyone's actually practiced that type of strategy on this map. Because this is one of the newer maps in the game. But I'd say some of the nuances maybe haven't been played out in practice yet. Like, for example, I think Victor Stromstrom taking shots through this little hole. And I do believe I saw one of those lumberjack shots did make it through. Although it didn't actually hit the big one. It's taking these shots through this little sniper window. Silly. Nemesis probably easier to shoot through this hole than the lumberjacks. That's something. And Zealous Armada does have the point advantage. So assuming Victor Stromstrom never actually gets that balloon disable, Pomelos will have to make a move eventually. Simply because of the point discrepancy. And I think we see now Red Judgment is repositioning. They've given up on Windows strat. Seod Endel reversing away. Nemesis shot coming in. I think it looks like Nemesis maybe we switch to. We have one. Looks like it was one charged Nemesis and one burst Nemesis, because I thought that Nemesis actually hit the Manticore, but it seemed like they didn't get one shot disabled, so I think that was a burst ammo. Victor Stromstrom moving in, dual focus from red team, but Stromstrom is actually blocked by the balloon. They lost their the balloon went down to the dual Nemesis. Now they're separated from their ally. A little bit of a positional mistake from red team. Zetnus is sandwiched, totally isolated. In Judgment, not going to be able to rejoin them. So Goldfish, going to be up to them to escape. They're pushing forward. They bump into the big one. The Nemesis not doing too much damage, but it is keeping the balloon suppressed. Armor is down. Watch a connection. 60, 70, all of the health is gone. And hey, now the Judgment is here. Maybe would have been better to give up on that one, because now the balloon is down. Now the dual Nemesis are going to be coming back into effect. Here's Gatling. Armor is down. He's raining in onto the balloon, setting it on fire, and Seod Endel able to finish up. Very strong performance on Derelict from the Zealous Armada of Rhinos, which means that both teams are one game away from taking this tournament. And next game, going to be a Clash at Blackcliff. Here we go, the last game in our final set to decide the victor of today's tournament. First off, for red team, the Zealous Armada of Rhinos. We have the Usel's big one. Once again, dual Nemesis Carronade, Mercury and Artemis. Mercury here instead of the Hades. And the Seod Endel, their ally, Shrike. With left side dual Carronades, right side Gatling Watcha. And for their opponents, we have the Victor Stromstrom, Lumberjack Judgment, Minotaur, Mercury and Light Flak, as well as the Queen Kerwin's Revenge Galleon. Don't see a lot of these nowadays. Left side Hades, Mark II Flak, Lumberjack, and right side Watcha and Heavy Carronade. So we see a lot of big, fat, long-range ships with not, at least for blue team opting, basically what I'm getting at, blue team opting not to bring any Artemis between the Judgment and the Galleon go. The Galleon. So really zero, very low gun disable. Victor Stromstrom does have that Mercury field gun, but the disables are going to be a little less consistent at long range, and the arc's not quite as good. However, the Minotaur could prove to be very annoying to deal with for the enemy Judgment, as already ships taking shots here across Blackcliff. We'll switch over to the Judgment, see some of those Minotaur shots hitting. Looks like this little big one will be able to get behind cover. And this is going to be a little bit different from the past matches that we have seen. A very standard team composition, if we switch over to the red side of the map, is a pairing of a fast attack ship and then also a tankier ship that brings more firepower. And in this situation, it's kind of a split type of composition where you use your fast ally, which will be either a Shrike or a Goldfish, or in the past a Stormbreaker. Use them to kind of rough up your opponents, mess up their defensive formation, distract them, and then while the focus is being spent on the Shrike, then their big, fat, or tanky ally gets to unload their full arsenal. However, blue team deciding not to do that this game, instead bringing 2 larger ships. And I'll be curious to see, it's something we don't see a lot. It just means that red team will have an advantage if they decide to try to mess with their position, because the see out endle can vary. I mean, what it means is that blue team has no defense against that sort of a strategy, because normally if you have a fast ship and a slow ship composition and you're playing against another fast ship and slow ship, the enemy fast ship is going to be able to contest yours. So in the previous game we saw in Canyon, the Shrike would move in, get the rear of one of these ships, and then the enemy Goldfish would be able to contest them because it has fast close-range mobility and it's able to turn very quickly. However, neither of these blue ships have fast turning, so they're having difficulty keeping up with this Shrike. As we do see Balloon maybe going to go down here. Pink Kerwin's Revenge is already almost dead, but Shrike could die as well. They're hitting the ground. Boom. Health. A lot of their health is gone. So Shrike did die too, but you consider the amount of firepower being dealt, that a Shrike and a Galleon both were reduced from full health to 0 in roughly the same amount of time, and how much more health the Galleon is. I feel like that was an example of what I'm saying here. These types of slow ship tactics historically have not proven out. And even now between these two judgments, Usul's big one has the advantages. Nemesis gonna do a good job keeping a damaged balloon down. And the armor on the Strom is low as well. Big one, full health, full armor, all components. I think that's probably, we'll see. Strom is able to get the armor back up. Queen Kerwin's Revenge has spawned back in. And Usul's big one's trying to zone them out behind that big pipe. But Queen Kerwin's Revenge is still able to get some of the shots through. And I think that was a terrain connection. Big chunk of the big one's health is gone. See out Endel finally rejoining them, but the big one getting dual focused. Strom going down as well. Score's still tied up. And Shrike probably just wants to disengage because they are fighting a little bit closer to Blue's spawn. I wasn't watching the spawns too closely, but I'm a little bit surprised that the Galleon was able to mobilize more quickly than the Shrike. I thought that was going to be a more even fight. However, Zealous Armada did get the first kill from that first engagement, which means they do have a tiebreaker advantage, assuming the game ends in a draw. Which is certainly possible depending on how passively the teams want to play. And I suspect that the Pomelos are not going to be aggressive here with their two hulking vessels. They're going to be just kind of inching across the map, and it will really be up to the Zealous Armada of Rhinos to dictate engagement terms. As we see Queen Kerwin's Revenge and Victor Strom set up in center map. No spots, but they looks like they do have visibility of the enemy judgment, so they are ready. Ready and waiting with open arms. This will be a very difficult sniping lane for red team to charge through. I don't think they can even really attempt it. They're gonna have to find a way. They're a little bit. The position from red right now is a little bit unfortunate because they are kind of taking a look here. You see where blue team is positioned. They have good visibility of pretty much all the escape paths for red team. Maybe if the Zealous Armada decide to move down or take a very low path, utilizing some of this pipe work for cover, they could escape. But as it stands now, they're very well locked down by the dual lumberjack, and the dual lumberjack are going to be very difficult for for red team to charge through. They're gonna be able to knock that Judgment's balloon is gonna be gone in seconds. So they're just they're waiting out. They're deciding what they actually want to do. Seaout Endel is pushing forward. They're trying to maintain visibility, but the cloud roaming through center map is making it a little bit difficult for them to be able to get any spots. Minotaur hits on the Shrike. Yeah, I feel like a Shrike getting hit by a Minotaur kind of looks like a cat that you're just bopping on the head very softly with your hand. Not enough to really hurt it, but enough that it'll show you that it's displeased. Now Usul's big one, you see they're exposed for 2 seconds and already Sext Fecta? I don't know what you would call six guns firing on a single target. But they're being forced to back out. Seaout Endel just can't, this sort of slow mid-range fight they can't take. Seaout Endel will have to find an opportunity to flank one of these 2 blue ships. So I don't think this position is viable for the Zealous Armada. Unless they just decide to wait here, play out. Because like I said, they do have tiebreaker advantage. So if the game ends in a 2-2 score, Zealous Armada will win because they got the first kill. So they could just sit here. And if that's their plan, then the Pomelos will eventually have to come to them. They won't have to charge through those lumberjacks. But here we go. Seaout Endel using the cover of that roaming cloud to push forward, get spots. Seems like they're not going to commit. They just want the spotting information, then they back out. Oh, here we go, big one. Maybe committing. Trying to use the big smokestack to zone out the Queen Kerwin's Revenge, but Galleon, this is the one advantage of the Galleon, is that it is a broadside ship, so it can strafe around these terrain pieces. And Lumberjack already hitting the Usul's big one, while Seaout Endel, but they're rocketing off Speed Racer in the direction of the Victor Strom. Queen Kerwin's Revenge, both the blue ships actually switching focus to the big one. I'm not sure if this is the right play, or excuse me, switching focus to the Seaout Endel, because now they've left the big one totally uncontested, and Red Judgment is moving in. I don't know if this is the right decision, especially from the blue Galleon, as the Galleon's, let's see, Galleon actually not taking a lot of damage. Those Nemesis are taking a while to come to effect. But the Seaout Endel has taken down the Strom's balloon. Lumberjack shots from the Queen Kerwin's Revenge. Seaout Endel forced away. Not going to be able to pick up the kill on the Victor Strom just yet. Usul's big one slowly closing the distance. Artemis shots from the big one targeting the Victor Strom. Armor is down. Balloon is down. More carronade shots from the Seaout Endel, which is located somewhere. Is Galleon doing big damage? Seaout Endel forced away to rebuild their balloon. And now big one stuck in a 1v2 here. They have to be careful. Queen Kerwin's Revenge gets the close range side on the big one. Takes down the Artemis and the Mercury. And now Hades hitting the Seaout Endel. Kerwin's Revenge splitting focus between the 2 ships. Strom rising up, having finally rebuilt their balloon, but the armor is down. Hwacha on the Seaout Endel, probably a few seconds away from firing, so they're using that hydrogen trying to rise up, but the Strom's balloon is low. Kerwin's Revenge armor is down. Are we going to see a Hwacha connection on the Galleon? No, not just yet. I think next armor break, we will see a Hwacha. I'm looking at the parts log. There's the Hwacha finally. Some of that connects, but not a full connection, and Seaout Endel is hurting. So Galleon survives. Shrike has to once again disengage. And they go down. I think they might have, I'm not sure, hit the terrain, just clipped it a little bit. Or if they were finished off by the guns. But now Pomelos have taken the lead. Big one on the enemy side of the map. Galleon about to get their close range guns in arc. I think the heavy carronade is down. Judgment is backing away. There is an escape path here. They run through some of these pylons. And if they're able to block the the fire from the Judgment, they could survive. But it seems like that's not what they're doing. They're instead just reversing, dropping down a little bit. I think not really making... I think this is probably... They've put themselves in a position where they're not going to be able to escape now. Balloon is down. 80 shots coming in. See out Endel. Seems like Red Team wants to fight here, wants to fight this. They're not going to give up the Judgment just yet, but I think Judgment is going to die anyways because you see See Out Endel is charging in, and Usel's big one is one shot away from dying. There they go. Not a great decision from Zealous Armada. I feel like the writing was definitely on the wall for the Judgment there, and if they had, instead of just reversing, they were reversing in a straight line because they were trying to keep their gun arcs. But I don't think they were going to be able to win a firepower battle against both the blue ships. If they instead had turned, try to move into the center map where there's a lot more terrain to obstruct incoming fire, I think this is an area where they potentially could have survived in, at least long enough for the Shrike to rejoin them. But instead, Shrike exposed themselves. They've already lost 60% of their promo hull in that disengagement, so this is already pretty bad for Red. Pomelos are on match point. Queen Kerwin's Revenge is damaged, so if we can get some focus fire, Ciudadendal could finish them off with a single Hwacha barrage on unarmored hull. As both the blue ships currently focused on the Usel's big one, Ciudadendal going to be moving in Minotaur shots now. Victor Stromstrom has turned for the Shrike, actually. Just the Galleon dealing with the big one. Minotaur making it very difficult for the Ciudadendal to be able to pursue their target. This big one has lost their balloon. And they've somehow ended up in this same position. I guess this is right by one of the red spawns, so that makes a little bit of sense. But here we go. Ciudadendal using the smokestacks for cover, dashing forward, utilizing that moonshine. Queen Kerwin's Revenge is very far back, so it's going to be difficult for the Shrike to actually get to them. They need to get past the Victor Stromstrom, which is playing as goalkeeper here. As we see a Hwacha connection taking down, yeah, big disables actually from that Hwacha. And now I'd like to see them disengage and go for the Galleon, because the Judgment is at full health. It's going to take them a lot longer to finish them off. Okay, well, maybe they'll actually just be able to get the kill straight up on the Judgment. I might be totally wrong. The Stromstrom having a little bit of difficulty navigating this terrain. Oh, here we go. Armor gonna go down. They're using that hydrogen to dodge. They dodge most of the Hwacha. Oh, they dodge all the Hwacha. And they're still alive. Queen Kerwin's Revenge and the big one are duking it out. Big one's balloon is down, but Queen Kerwin's Revenge is low armor status. Stromstrom trying to stay alive. They're reversing. They're actually next to the big one now, switching focus. We could see a dual focus here, but I think if they ignore the Shrike, the Stromstrom is going to die. The big one just has too much health. They're not going to be able to kill it, finish them off fast enough. So there's a Hwacha connection, and Stromstrom does go down. But the Galleon goes down as well. And now suddenly both teams on match point. Usel's big one, full health. Shrike pretty heavily damaged. Big one took their time there, but they were eventually able to finish off that Galleon. And only 4 minutes left on the clock. One more point to determine who is going to win this tournament. We'll see where blue team decides to spawn. Taking west spawn. The closer of the two. And a little bit more advantaged for blue team. Just one of the most critical terrain pieces on this map, which I don't know if I actually see it because red team is moving to the other side, is this this kind of outcropped little spike here. Because it both provides tall vertical advantage and also a little bit of horizontal advantage. You see this kind of shelf that juts out from the side of the mountain. So many different, both broadside ships and forward-facing ships that have vertical acceleration can utilize that terrain piece for cover, but everything I just said is irrelevant because they're just pushing the center map and not going to use that terrain piece at all. Let's see, Queen Corwin's Revenge, a little bit, sticking a little bit back from their ally. See how at Endel, they smell the judgment in the water. Again, it's just a little cat being bopped on the head. Bop. They're forced to back out by that Minotaur. And let's see, I'm waiting for Queen Corwin's Revenge to get into position. Because currently only the Judgments are actually using their guns here. Trike is looking for the moment to charge forward while the Galleon's taking a really long time, actually. It seems like they maybe don't want to take the extreme long-range fight, so they're instead repositioning a little bit closer to raise their accuracy. But it means that they could have potentially had a 2v1 on the big one for the past 60 seconds at extreme long range. And that's one of the disadvantages of the Galleon, is that it has to... Any sort of a broadside... Again, I said broadside again. Ship is that... we can just watch it happening. Is they have to... Anytime they're repositioning, they lose all their gun arcs. And so that means it takes a very long time for them to actually move from point A to point B, because they have to turn, face forward, charge, then turn again to get gun arcs, whereas a Judgment can just reposition on the fly at any point in a fight. And that's one of the reasons that Judgment is so much better than the Galleon, and why we've been seeing it pretty much every game. But here we go, blue team moved forward. I will remind you again that the Zealous Armada of Rhinos does have the tiebreaker advantage because they got the first kill in the game. And then also there's some type of overtime rule that I don't remember. So 45 seconds left on the clock. Both teams divided by this edge of the mountain. Queen Corwin's Revenge is moving in. It looks like they want to use the close range side. Target's going to be the Usul's big one. Nemesis from the big one hitting the Strom, but the Queen Corwin's Revenge taking down all the heavy weapons of the big one. Balloon down as well, too. The Lumberjack and a heavy carronade. Red Judgment taking big damage. 60% permahull is down. Armor down as well. Do we have more explosive follow-up? And where is the See Out Endel? Watch it connection. Able to finish them off. And that means Zealous Armada of Rhinos... No, wait, Wait, which team won? Wait, no, the Pomelos won. Yes, sorry, the Pomelos, yes, able to finish them off. I'm sorry, dude, my brain is melting. Pomelos, very close game, just barely able to eke it out against the Zealous Armada. Timer on the line, and that means they are your SCS number 211 champions. It's a hard-fought victory for sure.